sisters. Today we celebrate the memorial of Saint Clare, Virgin. She was born in 1193 and she lived for 59 years. When she is a contemporary of Saint Francis of Assisi. They were close friends. And when she was 15 years old, she heard Francis preach, and since then she also wants to follow in the way of Saint Francis. And at that age 15, she refused to marry because her parents are fixing a marriage to a wealthy man. And at age 18, she ran away from home to join Saint Francis of Assisi to live a life of poverty. And Saint Francis brought her to a Benedictine monastery. 16 days later, her sister Agnes followed her. And when the parents came to fetch them, she showed her hair. Her hair was cut because she has a beautiful hair. She was a beautiful lady, but then she gave it up for the love of lady poverty. At age 21, Saint Francis made her the superior or the prioress of the second order of Saint Francis. That's the mendicant order. And since that time, they lived a life of poverty, and there were popes who were trying to change the rule because the rule was so strict that but Saint Clare refused to change the rule, and she has written her own rule also, and that's according to the monastic history. That's the first rule. That's the first rule that was written by a woman. And in the early years, when Saint Francis was seeking her friendship, there was one time that Saint Clare always goes out of the house. And when Saint Francis followed her, she was taking care. She was feeding the lepers. And Saint Francis was so shocked that he cannot do what Saint Clare is doing during their childhood days. But then that was the conversion also of Saint Francis, that one time he also came to embrace a leper. That was his conversion. And there was also one time that when Saint Clare and the second order came to stay at San Damiano in Assisi, there was one time that Saint Francis came to visit Saint Clare. And while they were speaking during the night, the people around Assisi saw that the monastery was burning. During the night, it was glowing bright, it was burning. And then they ran with all the pails of water to save the monastery. But when they came, it was not burning. They just found Clare and Francis talking with each other. And so that was one image of Saint Clare. Her face is always glowing bright because of her poverty. And her rule is based on joyful imitation of the poverty of Jesus Christ. But when some cardinals and popes tried to change the rule, she said that I came to be absolved by my sins, but not the obligation to follow Jesus Christ. And they sleep on the ground, they eat only what the gardens produce, and in the rule, they should not be forced to accept donations that they don't like, or that tends to go against the rule of poverty. And Saint Clare died in 1259. 59 years of life, and 24 years that she had an illness, but she kept it to herself as a sign of her sacrifice. And one time when the Saracens, these are the enemies of the church, came to attack Assisi under Frederick II, St. Clare got the Blessed Sacrament from the altar, and they went to the door and she prayed to God that she cannot defend these little souls that she tended and loved. And she told the sisters to trust in God. And then the attacking enemy just changed course. And that's why the image of St. Clare, when you see her in images, she is the one with the Franciscan habit and carrying the Blessed Sacrament. That's her image. And she's also the patron saint of television, because one time when she was gravely ill, in her wall she attended Mass, because in the wall appeared the Mass that was ongoing somewhere in the church, and she also heard it. She heard a Mass in a wall, and that's Saint Clare of Assisi. And her second order, the Franciscans, was called the Order of the Poor Ladies. But when she died and she was canonized, they changed it. The Pope at the time changed it in honor of her to the Order of Saint Clare, and they are now popularly known as the Poor Clares. So this is Saint Clare of Assisi, and her sister Agnes also became a saint.